Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com.
Welcome everyone to the
host,
Fantasy Football
Craig and
Prophet podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today we have a little Week 14 instant reaction to all the Sunday games. Only one game left, Patriots-Dolphins tomorrow night. So we're going to go through all the top performances in Week 14, all the disappointments. And Jeff, was your Sunday a disappointment or was it any good?
To tell you the truth, I will find out tomorrow. I feel like every single one of my playoff appearances hinges on tomorrow night, Monday night football game. It could go either way. I could be very happy and possibly move forward in 3 of the 4 playoffs. Or who knows, maybe I will end up biting it on all 4. It's been an emotional day. How about you? How has your playoff run gone?
I'm going to move on in, let's see, out of 4 leagues, I should move on in 2 of them this week. But the one that really matters, I took a loss here tonight by not starting Tennessee Titans defense over Cincinnati. And that's going to be the downfall of my season. It's always kind of a disappointment when you can actually make a move that would have changed everything for you. That has to be the worst way to lose. I'd rather just have lost and had it. Could have had no effect on the outcome. You know what I mean? But nope. Change around the defense, play somebody else, and I would have got a victory.
Right. Looking at your bench and a possible move you were going to make and realize, oh man, that would have changed things a little bit. It's always a rough one. And it's always tough because there's always going to be, well, not always, but a lot of time there's someone on your bench that you see that scored a lot more. But, you know, in your head, you're kind of like, I would have never played that person. But if it's like a kicker, a defense, or perhaps like you switched them out the last second, it's the worst. You can't get over that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess I'll wait till next year on that one. But, hey, looks like in the listener leagues, we should be in 2 of the championships. So that'll be fun. And I got 2 more leagues next week that I'm still alive in. Oh, actually, one of them, I'm out of the playoffs already. It's just a toilet bowl. But, hey, got a chance at a championship, but like 3 championships yet. So, all right, let's talk about some of these players for today. How about, let's start it off with, I don't know, Jeff, let's talk about Jordan Howard and how he did today. How do you feel about that game?
Oh, God. Well, okay, talk about one of these guys that's on my bench. So, Jordan Howard was going to be a flex spot, and not to commiserate with me too much, but I was obviously playing Kamara that got injured right away, so that killed. But Howard did very, very well. So well, in fact, that what he scored, 27.5 points, 2 touchdowns, 147 yards against Cincinnati, who has, done well in the past. And Jordan Howard coming off of 3 out of 4 weeks, just really poor performances. Never got over 15 touches. They handed the ball to him 23 times, and I missed out on him. But hopefully everyone else did not, because he looked really, really good.
Yeah, it's kind of surprised. I did not expect it because Chicago's offense had been so poor the last few weeks. Howard had not shown much of anything the last 2 weeks at all. And then this comes up, which I guess he's had a couple of these big games this year, so you just never know when it's going to happen with Jordan Howard. But I guess this is part of the whole you don't sit your star players kind of a thing, It sometimes it'll backfire on you when you do start them and they don't do anything, but man, I think this just adds to that whole idea that you keep playing those kind of guys.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of that, we could probably go down a laundry list of players that, people were asking us, should they sit, should they start? People that have kind of been proven throughout the year that have done really, really well. And I would say the majority of the time, they even going against a good defense, they still put up numbers. And I don't want to jump around too much, but one of those is a guy that you had, and that's Russell Wilson, which a lot of people asked us about. He looked very poor for about the first half, but he still managed to put up big numbers once again.
Yeah, I mean, he's part of the whole theory of you just start your guys like that. I was honestly never terribly concerned with starting him. I wasn't happy about the matchup, but I mean, he did throw 3 picks. Jacksonville does have a great defense, but Russell Wilson just makes things happen and ended up with a pretty decent game out of it. So, I mean, you just can't sit a guy like Russell Wilson. And, a lot of people did, I think. There was we put a post up about Alex Smith versus Russell Wilson, and quite a few people went with Alex Smith on that. I think the majority did. So,
And I understand where they're coming from. His numbers for the year look really good, but he has been trailing off, and you paid the price if you did start him this week.
And then some other guys. Let's just go through some of the lists. We don't have to go down a lot of these guys, like Le'Veon Bell, 30.5. I mean, just another great game. He gets 34.5 total points in standard, and that's only with 48 rushing yards. The guy doesn't need rushing yards to do as well as he does. And just that's another great performance for him, and he's going to win a lot of people league championships again. You get Bell on your team, and you can win a championship. When you get 3 touchdowns, you can get them all receiving too. Tough to stop him. How about some other guys that were more surprising then? Got a little list here. There's about 3 running backs that kind of really no one expected to do anything today that showed up. Jonathan Stewart with 16 carries, 103 yards, 3 touchdowns. Rod Smith had 100, and let's see here, 160 total yards and 2 touchdowns. And then even Jamal Williams, he got 2 touchdowns. He had over 130 yards, total yards, even with Aaron Jones coming back, who really wasn't active. So how many of those guys did you start, Jeff? Maybe Jamal Williams?
Yeah. Well, right now I wish I had him on my team, but, those are such afterthoughts for me. I think I heard that Jonathan Stewart, that was his first 3 touchdown game he's ever had. I might be wrong on that, but it just shows you, like, who's starting Rod Smith, who's starting Jonathan Stewart. Jamal Williams is probably a play, like a flex play maybe, but a lot of these guys probably, aren't even on a playoff team, and they just blew up today, and you just never know. I mean, same thing with, you could go even farther down the list, and Theo Riddick really showed up. Buck Allen had a really nice game. So, man, I mean, there was definitely guys out there that went above and beyond this week. It was a frighteningly high scoring fantasy playoff week.
What about Jamal Williams here now? The last 3 games in standard scoring, 25.5, 18.3, 23.8. I mean, that's pretty impressive right there. That's a really impressive 3-game stretch.
Yeah, and it really is. And I guess I'm wondering what changed, because even the 2 games before that, besides for the fact he got into the end zone, the 2 weeks before that, he still got 20 carries and 18 carries, very, very, very large workloads, and he only got 7.4 points, 9.5. Compared to that, the next 3 games, 21 carries, 15. Not anything really differently, but he got it done in a big way. Going over 100 yards. Was it the receiving that is changing it?
I think just it shows that Green Bay running back spot is just valuable. It pretty much is whoever they plug in there does well. I mean, Ty Montgomery, we thought Ty Montgomery was just, a really good player, and that's why he was putting up the numbers he was, but they threw Aaron Jones in there, and Aaron Jones did the same thing. You throw Jamal Williams in there, Jamal Williams does the same thing. I mean, it just doesn't seem like it matters to me. It doesn't matter who the guy is there, and this is without Aaron Rodgers in there. It's just they're using these guys right to put up these big numbers. I don't understand it quite, but it's been impressive. And the next week, we might see Aaron Rodgers back out there. They're 7-6, so they are in the playoff hunt, and this is perfect time for Rodgers to come back. Then
that is my question, though. Obviously, he's had 3 big weeks in a row. People are going to want to play him. If Aaron Rodgers does come back next week, as we think that is going to happen, does that hurt Jamal Williams' fantasy value?
No, I don't think so at all. I think they might even lean on him a little bit. I don't know if they want to just go too crazy with Rodgers right away, but I mean, they will. He'll throw the ball around, but I think Williams would be just as heavily right now. I don't think you can. Honestly, I think it might even just be better for him. Might be a better option than it was going to be, except for the fact that they're playing at Carolina, which is a tough game. So that might be something to watch out for. Carolina's been kind of tough.
Yeah, and we just saw what Carolina did today.
Yeah, Carolina, they shut down Latavius Murray today. I mean, Murray didn't do much of anything against Carolina today, and he had been having some big games coming, in a row there, and he only had 9 for 14 today. And then McKinnon had 7 for 46, so just not much going for Minnesota against Carolina. So I don't know. Williams might have trouble in that way, but Aaron Rodgers opens everything up. So I really do hope he's back. I would be interested to see how that looks with him out there, and maybe he brings Jordy back from the dead.
Yeah, that would definitely be an upside. You would think that he would immediately, come back and at least show signs of life compared to what he's been doing lately.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think you put him in your lineup. I don't think if you have him, I think you just go start him. If Aaron Rodgers is back, you just expect something big to happen out of it. And all right, some of these other guys today, some of these, Todd Gurley, another great game. Don't really have to go too much into it. DeAndre Hopkins had just a monster game, 11 for 149 and 2 touchdowns. It seems like it doesn't matter who the quarterback is for him right now. So this is more of a next year thing with Watson. Hopkins might be our number one. I don't know. He's going to battle with Antonio Brown, who I guess maybe not, because Brown, 11 for 213 tonight, 213 yards.
Oh my gosh, both of those guys are playing on another planet. You watch these games and you don't understand how they can get open on every single play. It really is a thing of beauty. Especially Hopkins was just ridiculous, right? But watching Antonio Brown just dissect the defense every single play, not even doing it, not even getting into the end zone. I mean, I don't know. At some point, you got to think that he might be the, best player to have in the NFL. Just because the way they use him, he might be the most important player on that team, and that's saying a lot because they do have Big Ben, and obviously they do have Le'Veon Bell. But I feel like every time they get in trouble, Roethlisberger knows where he's going to go, and he just throws it up to him. And sure enough, he just trusts that Brown is going to be open underneath the ball. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, he had 18 targets today. He's so good. He continues to be. It is. It's crazy what he's been doing. And for sure, Brown and Hopkins are 1-2 next year at wide receiver for me, without a doubt. It's not even the way they've both been playing. Brown's number one receiver, obviously, but Hopkins is right behind him now. That's going to be some good receivers. It's going to be interesting to see if we decide to draft any of those guys over some of the running backs out there next year, because there's going to be in a lot of it's going to be like Brown versus like Fournette type debates out there, in that kind of range. And Hopkins, we'll see what goes on. Fournette had a solid game, got a touchdown, 101 yards today, so not bad. How about one of the other rookies here? Kareem Hunt actually stepped up and played pretty well finally again. This is nice to see from Hunt, and maybe it's the fact that he had 25 carries that kept giving him the ball this time. And look, he's able to get 19.8 standard scoring points.
Yeah, he finally broke out of his slump. He finally got a touchdown since, week 3 or something. But obviously, as you know, since you're a Kelsey owner, a lot of that happened because, they got all the way down to the 1-yard line and then they had to punch it in. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this guy moving forward. You think that they, it seems like they do better when they give him the ball a lot. But it was kind of a fluky game by Alex Smith. I think we were talking about before, but 2 touchdowns were kind of called back. One of them put on the one. So even though Kareem Hunt had a wonderful thing and hopefully you played him, I don't know. What do you see for moving forward? He does have the Chargers and then Miami. Do you think he's a must-play at least the next 2 weeks?
The Chargers are going to be tough. They've been pretty decent on defense lately. But I think if you have Kareem Hunt, in most cases, you should play him. It would have to be a pretty stacked running back group to not play him, I believe. So I think he's in your lineup. At the worst, he's your flex play. And if he gets this kind of volume, he's going to make it. He's going to be decent enough. I'm not going to say he's going to look great, but I think he's going to be good enough that he should be in your lineup. I'd be sticking with him. All right, let's see. Some other guys here. There's a lot of random names on the list today. Don't have to go there. The terrible, a lot of fantasy value, like Trey Burton, 2 touchdowns today in Zach Ertz's absence, which was.
I was going to say that's an important one though. I mean, it just shows you, and yeah, we don't know what happened to Wentz with his injury yet.
Looks like it's probably the ACL, but
yeah, that's what they're saying.
I mean, there's nothing official yet, but we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, if that happens, we're going to have to relook at the entire Philadelphia offense, really.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because, I mean, Nick Foles, he's not the worst backup quarterback you could have out there. I mean, he's had a good.
No, he looked fine, but he's not Wentz. No, I mean, like, the throws he was putting on, especially his tight ends, like every tight end in that offense is worthwhile if they're going to play, as he showed with Burton and Selleck. But, Burton and whoever else was the guy on. Selleck. I'm sorry, there's two Sellecks on here I was looking at. Yeah, both of them. I mean, he's throwing just dimes to these guys, and they're barely open, and he's finding a way to get them the ball. That game, possibly, besides for maybe the snow game, was the funnest one to watch because it really just showed off everyone. I mean, obviously, Wentz was freaking amazing. You saw how they used, Jeffrey, how he had that great catch in the end zone, Aguilar, the tight ends, and then Gurley on the other side. Just ripping off 10-yard runs whenever it felt like it. But anyway, getting back to the point as I go rambling on. But the tight end situation this week was very, very funny to watch because it was kind of a feast or famine, and a lot of the big names weren't up top this time around.
Yeah, there really isn't. I guess without Gronk and without Ertz, how many big names are there, I guess? It's Kelsey, who he did decent, but then Jimmy Graham was shut out, which just is a 0 for Jimmy Graham today. That was terribly disappointing. And then it's just the tight end position's disappointing right now. There's not many guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's only, 6 guys that went to double digits in tight end land, and they were Trey Burton, who, if you started him, that would have been amazing. Jared Cook, Garrett Selleck for San Fran, Hunter Henry, Adam Shaheen, and then Kyle Rudolph. So, I mean, it's such a grab bag.
It really is. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting for next year. The strategy behind tight end, like, we actually gonna have to pay for a tight end to guarantee yourself one of those top guys? Is that what we got to look at next year?
I mean, I guess the question is, even if you pay for someone, are you guaranteeing yourself? So, I mean, you look at the list right now, right? And yeah, if you paid for Kelsey, you got 7.4 points, you would have been fine. You would have been happy with that. And then obviously Gronk will probably be Gronk as long as he's healthy because he was suspended. But other than that, I mean, it's been so up and down with everyone. Do you feel, I mean, unless you are willing to pay for Kelsey or Gronk or, even Ingram, what do you have, 5 points today? I mean, I almost think the better way to go is just not pay for anyone and just try to stream, because I feel like even if you spend that money, you're not guaranteeing yourself anything.
Yeah, I probably won't spend yet. I still don't like doing it, but it's one of those guys up, though, like Kelsey or Gronk. That might be about it. Ertz. That's other than that, there really isn't another good option. Yeah. All right, some of the other guys here, not really too many others to talk about. Maybe D.D. Westbrook, 5 for 81 and touchdown, keeps looking good.
Yeah, it was a good call by you. I was pleasantly surprised when I was watching him. He looked pretty good out there, and it's not like Bortles is anything too special. So the fact that he's getting open and getting the ball, it definitely shows the talent this guy has to be able to do that as a rookie.
And if you had followed our whole trade Russell Wilson for Dak Prescott advice a few weeks back for this playoff round, it actually would have worked out.
Yeah, paid dividends.
If you were able to get Dak and a player for Russell Wilson, it actually was the right call. Dak had a pretty solid game. So, all right, now some of the disappointing players here, Jeff. How about, I don't know, there's a few of them out there. Mike Evans, like, how bad has he been lately?
Yeah, I mean, he just never recovered after he had that suspension. And, it's very difficult to sit a guy with that amount of talent. But, I thought it was weird how he wasn't targeted near as much even when Jameis Winston came back. And it just continued this game. So I don't know. Yeah, it's one of those things. He's a very scary individual to start at the moment. But, I mean, you have him. Even after this one, if you went to the next round in your playoffs, would you bench him or would you play him?
I probably still throw him in the lineup. But these last few weeks, I mean, let's start with week 8. He had 6, and then he had 1.3. Then he was suspended. Then 9.2, 7.8, 3.3, 2.5. Hasn't had a touchdown since week 7. Hasn't had a 100-yard game all season. Doesn't have more than 7 catches in a game. Just all around, if this is any other player, you look at these numbers, you wouldn't hesitate to put him on your bench. man, it's rough. I don't know, but I mean, it depends on your team situation. Really, depends on what you have on your team, and if you're in a 2 wide receiver league, though, I very easily can see situations where he's on your bench.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of wide receivers stepping up. I mean, I would have a hard time benching him myself, but at the same time, I can see a place where you're like, hey, it's just for 1 week. This is playoff time. I have to know, like, I have to feel good about my pick, and saying I like a different matchup better. I mean, I get that.
Another disappointing wide receiver, Robbie Anderson. Didn't do much today, and now Josh McCown is hurt with a broken hand. So I'm not sure we can expect a lot from Robbie Anderson next week with most likely Bryce Petty at quarterback. I guess I don't know what we can expect, and I probably don't trust it. So he's probably back to my bench.
Yeah, I would say that definitely with the backup coming in, I wouldn't trust him at all. I would have to believe that you have someone better that you can start in his place. He has been wonderful all year, but, like any other wide receiver, you see even with Jordy Nelson, you put in a different and usually worse, definitely worse in this case, quarterback, and, they just really don't stand a chance. So I would very much recommend not starting Anderson next week.
Yeah, I don't. Bryce Petty hasn't shown me anything, obviously, in the NFL yet to play him, so I'm going to just stay away. All right, any other major disappointments for you today? Maybe Kirk Cousins didn't really do too much.
Yeah, he kind of broke my heart today. I was hoping he could put up at least one more touchdown just to keep that game going. I mean, I think it was even more for selfish reasons, because first of all, I had Cousins starting in a couple of mine, which put me in a hole. But the other reason is they got behind by so much that I was starting Rivers and Hunter Henry and Keenan Allen and other ones. And then they took all those guys out when they got up by too much. So it capped what I was able to get. So Cousins, you hurt me doubly today.
Yeah, he did. And I mean, the Chargers defense, I didn't expect that was going to be something that we would have to watch out for, to be worried about going against in this season. Just where do the Chargers come from? They're all of a sudden a good football team. They're 7-6 now, but they've been playing pretty well. So it's just this year to me. I don't know if it feels different than before, but I feel like I don't know anything right now. There's so much, it changes week to week. Some of the lineup decisions we're having to come up with are just crazy to me. It's like I honestly don't know. Like I said, you could literally throw these names in a hat and you'd probably have just as good of a shot at picking the right guy who's going to score the most points this week. It's just a crazy time right now.
Yeah, and things. I mean, you saw it today. I think Demaryius Thomas is a very good example of this. Right, he's a big name, but he really hasn't done a whole lot. They've been struggling to pass the ball. Comes out, has a wonderful game, touchdown, almost 100 yards. Everyone kind of completely forgot about him. And then you also have a guy, that actually scored more than Tyler Lockett that hasn't done anything all year. But obviously he's on that wonderful offense. So there's a lot of guys that went out and scored, but, you're also looking at a kind of consistency as well, right? So you're looking at the other side of the coin. Someone like Keenan Allen didn't get a touchdown, but it's his 4th game in a row of receiving over 100 yards. Like, he's been killing it, and he did it with only 6 receptions. So I know that it's very, very it's kind of easy to look at these and think that you're not sure who to start, or maybe you want to go with your gut and try to start someone like Tommy Lee Lewis, who had another good game, but or his first good game ever. But I think you still have to take a look at the stats and try to make a logical decision as well. Otherwise, you're gonna run into a brick wall with some of these guys.
Yeah, and I think you really at this point don't. I mean, matchups matter, but if you have a star player, I think the matchups matter very little. You just play the guys. Like, don't bench Russell Wilson. Like, that's basically the moral of the story.
No, I was going to say, you can say that over and over again. Russell Wilson, Carson Wentz, even though he got hurt, he was the leading QB this week, even though he didn't play a full game. I mean, it's that crazy how good he's been. You will have Brett Hundley, who scored 31 somehow in a terrible game against when they almost lost to Cleveland. But, I'm not going to start Hundley over a Russell Wilson or anything crazy like that. So, I think this is the point where people lose their minds a bit, including myself. It's very easy to second guess yourself when it comes down to one game in order to have a whole playoff thing rest on it.
Yep, all I had to do was start the Tennessee Titans defense, and I'd be in the championship next week. So
easy to go on tilt, man.
Oh, what can you do? What can you do? All right, I think it's going to do it. We'll be back, tomorrow night? We'll record the waiver edition. We'll be recording the episode during the Monday night game, which Jeff has a lot riding on, so we'll see how much he's actually paying attention to the actual episode. Probably
not a ton, I'll be honest. I have way too many guys going. I'm going to be losing my mind.
All right, we will talk to you guys tomorrow.